Hey everybody, welcome to the Blue Collar Built Podcast, a show about two brothers who are sharing their experience as they're going through it. Hi, I'm your host, John, joined by my youngest brother, Jake.
What's up, folks?
What's happening?
Not much. Just got done golfing.
Yeah, how was that?
It was good. After a 50-some hour week, we got after it this week.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it was really enjoyable.
we did get after it this week
And I golfed really well. And yeah,
because I worked your ass off all week.
you did. You did. My energy was still there, though. I mean, I probably could have worked today. It was nice having the day off, but yeah, I'm feeling good to start of the season.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm feeling good overall. I'm just ready to get past the current project we're on, which is kind of sounds like a repeat, week
Yeah.
after week right now, just because it's a tedious job. It's something new that we're doing. It's kind of cool. I'll have pictures on the video here, but just kind of what we're doing is we're doing a pool coping for this very large pool that we're currently working on, and we're actually facing the concrete for the pool, so it's not going to have like a metal border. It's just a concrete face, and I'll post pictures here for you guys to kind of check out our progress so far. But we got a couple of pours left this week there. It's pretty cool. The expectation on the job is really high. We hold ourselves to a high quality standard as is. It's just a little daunting sometimes
When it's new. When it's new.
Yeah.
Because we've done similar, but not really.
Pouring around a pool is just like pouring a sidewalk. We can do that all day long. This is kind of like art. You're forming the face of the interior of the pool.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's daunting, but it's cool. It's definitely something that's going to be interesting to have in our back pocket. I'm not going to go out looking for these jobs by any means. But I'm glad I learned it. It was definitely something that was interesting to learn about. So
yeah, it'll be good to put it behind us too.
yeah, because the stuff we have coming up is like
it's in our wheelhouse. That's what I like to say.
It's in our wheelhouse because we're able to move like you and I can normally move. We're smashing out. For the most part, two guys. We're doing 2-3 jobs a week.
Yeah.
So got some stuff coming up that we got to look at. Business is booming, fortunately for us. I know that's not always the case with everybody else right now, but that's my shameless plug of trades is if you're, kind of stuck in between what you're thinking to do, and this is kind of for the younger kids who are thinking about college, but, consider a trade for sure.
Yeah. 100%.
I mean, it's super important. But today's topic, we just kind of want to talk about all the things that we think about when there's kind of a new environment, or we're doing something new for the first time, or we're in a stressful, it might not even be like for us, concrete's not new for us, but this technique is new for us.
Right.
So we kind of want to talk about all the things that we think about. Jake and I were talking about that this week.
Yeah. Yeah. Since the pool deck's like a new pool coping is like a new thing for us, it's been weighing heavier on us than a normal project.
Yeah, so to kind of dive into it, I mean, one of the things that we've been doing is kind of pre-thinking the project, because like I stated at the beginning, we hold ourselves to a higher standard, and this can turn out really, really cool if it's done right. So we start thinking about all the different things, and we are only, 30% done with this project, and I have to kind of think of all the outcomes on our way to 100% completion of the project.
Right.
So your brain starts to kind of spiral, and you know you have some sleepless nights because you wake up and you might have an idea, or you might have something that you want to think about, and it just starts going down the road of, okay, like for us right now, one of my biggest concerns is how we're going to put control joints in this thing, which a control joint, for those of you who don't know, are the little lines you put in driveways and sidewalks to control the cracks. This pool is L-shaped, and there's 12 different corners. You really don't want to put triangles in concrete because that's where they pop most likely.
Yeah.
So how to manage that is something that's been keeping me up at night, even though until we do it, I have no control over it.
Right.
And that's kind of what we want to discuss.
Yeah, it's hard to see the vision of those lines in there until the concrete's down, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. And the stress last week was those pool forms.
Mm-hmm.
Those pool forms, and we were worried about them potentially blowing out.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have ruined the whole pour. So you could imagine the stress level that we had going into that pour.
Yeah, because a lot of things when you're doing something new, you try and envision. And I know we're talking about our project and we'll touch base on some other life things that this happens in. But
Mm-hmm.
for us this week, it was the pool forms that we never used.
Yeah, we've never dealt with those
We've
before.
never worked with those before.
We were literally looking up YouTube videos, literally.
Yes.
To see how they're supposed to go in,
right,
to see how they work and everything. So that's where the skepticism comes in.
Yeah, and then so then the thinking starts because there's actually multiple different kinds of these pool forms, right?
Yeah.
And all the videos that we're watching are of other kinds. They aren't like the kind that we use because the kind we use are kind of a newer style.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I mean, we spent weeks before we even started the project just researching and looking this up, and it kind of got to a point where you regurgitate, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're just looking up information, and now you're just starting to kind of dive down the negativity train because what you're looking at isn't what your product is. It's
Mm-hmm.
still a styrofoam form, but they're held together two different ways. And so finally, I was discussing with the homeowner and I said, we just we just got to start playing with it. We got to start
Mm-hmm.
putting them in. And sure enough, that day we did all that trim and stuff.
It went really
It
well.
was fine.
Yeah, it went really well.
It held up really well. It actually stormed like 2 nights while they were up and nothing.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Just there's probably a tinge of stress. Just how are we gonna fit these forms in here?
Right.
Which is different than when concrete, because that was a separate thing we had stress from. Was
Mm-hmm.
are these even gonna hold up?
Right. Yeah, and that was something that I wasn't worried about once we put it up, which is kind of a good segue here when, anytime your brain starts to go down the negativity path and the stress starts to come in, if you're like me, you're doing a lot of pre-thinking because you want to try and think of every possible outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And that is actually very deteriorating for yourself, as I'm finding out.
Yeah.
Because you can't predict every possible thing. We talked about it in the truck. It's one of those things that you just have to dive into it. And you said it best. When I come to that road, if shit hits the fan, I'll deal with it then. And sometimes that's what you have to do.
This just popped in my head. It's almost like it's similar, but it's like you need to find, like, you're driving a car. You don't know if someone's going to cut you off or not. You just have to make a move that instant.
Yeah.
Sometimes you come to that point.
It becomes instinct, right?
You can drive as safe as you want down the road, but
Mhm.
someone could cut you off and you got to act right then. You can't foresee that into the future, like
No. And you would be a terrible driver if you're driving down the road and thinking of every single possible outcome
exactly
that could happen, because at that point you might as well pull over and not be driving.
right.
So that's a very plausible, and there are people like that.
Yeah.
And I would hope that if you're listening to this and that's relating to you, well, just know it's okay. Other drivers are driving too. Like,
Yeah.
everybody's reacting
Yeah.
in productive ways. Another one that we had kind of talked about was like dating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're a single guy,
Mm-hmm.
you're out there dating. What are some of the things that you think about? Like, if you were to go out and date, I mean, you're not like dating, but you should be.
I should be. Yeah, you're right.
But when you go out, like, what are some of the things that go through your mind before?
This is very good.
Yeah.
This is a very good question. Well, I start off with, how am I looking? Right? You want to look good. Like, if you're going out, you want to look good.
Right.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is, how do I even get into a reasonable conversation? And that's pretty much where all the stress comes in.
Right.
Because I'm trying to think about where do I want this before I even talk to anybody,
Yes,
to
this is
any
just
girl.
the
This is
thoughts
just
that are
spinning in my
piling
head.
through your head.
Where should I even take this conversation?
Right.
Like, should I ask, how are you doing? That's probably the start of it. But then, like, I'm thinking about what she's going to say back to me. And it's like, well, I can't really predict
You
what the fuck she's going to say back to me, right?
Yeah, you're anticipating her answer, which she's a human being. It could be literally a billion different
Which is
things.
tough because if I am 2-3 steps in this conversation without even having it, I'm probably going to blurt out something stupid because I'm trying to predict where this thing's going to go 3 sentences into it.
Right.
So, yeah, that's exactly how it works for me.
Right.
I'm sure that's relatable to a bunch of guys.
Oh, absolutely. And it's that is something that, and I'm not patting myself on the back here, but speaking to other people or females in general was something,
Mm-hmm.
as weird as it is, that I never had to pre-think like that.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, I have tons of other things in my life. A majority of the rest of my life, I pre-think to the point of exhaustion, which is not healthy, and that's why I want to have this conversation.
Fuck, man, I need to take my own advice with the car driving thing and do that when I'm talking to girls because
There you go.
they're gonna throw you something out there and you're just gonna have to ride with it.
Absolutely. So recently I had my gallbladder taken out,
Mm-hmm.
and another weird thing in life right now, and a lot of this has to do, like we were discussing earlier, with all the technology we have. We can look up anything, right? We can watch
Mm-hmm.
videos, we can look up forums, we can research until we're exhausted, and one thing that happened was I had an endoscopy before I had my gallbladder taken out, and I had a really bad reaction to the anesthesia. And I didn't realize that because I've never had that happen before. And if you've ever had like a terrible reaction to something, like I was convulsing, I was shaking, I couldn't sleep.
Jesus, I
Um,
don't even think you did. You tell me about this?
I don't know, maybe.
It's new. I feel like it's new, but
Yeah. So,
anyways.
anyways, that night, it was like 10 hours after the procedure. Procedure went fine. I was fine. I got home, and all of a sudden, it was like when you get the chills when you're sick and you feel like you're kind of shaking, except for it
Mm-hmm.
was just like throughout my whole body. Like I'd just be laying there, and my whole body would just
Ooh,
go like this, and I'm like, okay, this isn't right. I didn't feel sick, but I couldn't stop convulsing. And
Jesus.
I'm like, then your brain starts to spiral because I wasn't watching the camera that went down my throat. Did they hit something in my stomach? Am I bleeding internally? And your brain starts to
Those
spiral.
are actual thoughts,
Yes,
probably,
like
right?
there was like a 30 to 60-second window that where I had just decided that this was the end for me.
Yeah.
Like it went that deep.
Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, because it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I still can't sleep. My body's reacting this way. I'm very weak. Yeah, it was the weirdest experience. And so with technology, I'm looking up all of these different things
Yeah.
because I'm telling myself I should just wait until 7 a.m. and go see my doctor because my doctor has been with me through this experience of deciding
Mm-hmm.
to have my gallbladder taken out. So I won't, if I went to the ER at that time, I would have to explain this to all these people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which probably would have been the safer answer because then I could have just went and been seen.
Yeah.
So I'm pushing through it, and the only way I can attach onto some of these things, because that's what you do when your brain starts to spiral like that. Now we have the ability to look up these things, right?
Yeah.
We get on our
Well,
phones.
there's so many symptoms. That's why it's a good idea to go get checked out. But if you don't go get checked out, you're just gonna cause yourself more pain because you're gonna spiral.
Exactly. And that's what was happening to me. So all these weird things that I've never experienced happen. So I start looking it up, and that's where like it started to go deep. Like I pushed
Mm-hmm.
myself to a place that I wouldn't have went to because I'm not a medical professional. I'm sitting here thinking I'm dying, and my doctor, when I did go to see him, is like, they run a couple tests just to make sure, that there's nothing off. My blood work was fine and all
Yeah.
that. And eventually it was just like, you know, 2 or 3 hours later, like my body just stopped doing it.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, you obviously had a reaction to the anesthesia because that was the only thing that they did.
Yeah.
And so as soon as we came to that conclusion and my body stopped resting, like I could breathe, but for that few hours overnight, my brain was spiraling. And it's like thought after thought after thought, trying to figure out how to control something that was uncontrollable.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before.
Yeah. It's normal.
It is.
It's
It's
normal.
it's trying to rationalize something that you can't rationalize by yourself because in that situation I wasn't a medical professional and I was trying to read things that potentially had nothing to do with what was going on with me. No different than our job. I can't rationalize I can think about how all the different ways to control these cracks and control these joints. But until we have that solid piece of our snapping lines and doing that,
And
like
can
I can't
visualize
and
it.
can visualize it,
Yeah.
my brain's only going to start playing tricks on me. And that's when I start to not sleep. And that's when the stress comes in. And I believe that I'm telling myself these things to try and distress myself, but it's not.
Yeah, it's
right?
taking you further in the wrong direction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we tend to do that a lot with our thoughts. We dive into this end of overthinking so many different situations, like dating, like medical. How many of you out there that are listening are parents and you had a kid for the first time? And the first time your kid gets super sick is super scary at first. For the most part, you rationalize, okay, if another kid was sick, he's probably got a cold. But when you physically see your kid sick and you aren't feeling what they're feeling, your brain starts to spiral again.
Yeah. No, I could think of so many thoughts. Dude, if I had a kid, holy shit.
Right?
A newborn, it's
Yeah.
like I could think of so many things. Like the first time, you get solid food, it's like, is he gonna choke? Is he gonna be fine? Like
Right.
it would be bad.
Yeah.
But good because I don't know.
You learn. You have to go through these things, and that's kind of the kicker to all of this is what I have found that works for me is that I need to stop thinking and just do, and that's for a majority of my life. I have learned that I have to do that. I've started 2 businesses. I'm currently running a pretty successful business for the last 3 years. I got to that point because I stopped thinking and just started acting.
Right.
And that's kind of what this tale comes to. Is instead of trying to think of all these possible outcomes, if you just start taking action instead, yeah, it's going to hurt, you're going to fail. There's so many different outcomes, but you learn from those mistakes and those bumps and you start to stop overthinking things and trying to control the environment with your thoughts. Instead, you just go out and you do that. And I think that's kind of the takeaway from all this.
Absolutely. That was well said.
Yeah, because it was incredible to me when we were fretting about those forms and then we put that first one up and I was just like, oh fuck. Game over.
Yeah, well, I didn't know, and I told you this after the fact. You guys knew those were not supposed to have the extra bracing, but I didn't know that, so I thought we were just whimming it.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit extra for me.
Right.
But again, you were pretty confident, so then I was positive about it, and I think that helped Dad be a little bit more positive about it. So
yeah,
even it affects the people around you, right?
It is, and that's a lot of people will be afraid to do things because they're going to overthink of all the negative outcomes. And I think outside of taking action, maybe try and think of, instead of this is what's going to happen when this fails, another slick thing that I've been working on and trying to do, how cool is this going to be when this works?
Yeah.
Flip the narrative, change that around for yourself.
Yeah.
Because then that unwanted stress becomes confidence, and you can do a lot with that. And that's one thing that I've noticed in myself with these thoughts and stuff is it deteriorates my confidence in myself. I've been doing concrete work for almost 20 years now, and I know how to do these things. I know what concrete should look like. I know what it's going to do for the most part. Um, Outside of those uncontrollable circumstances, I need to continuously remind myself that. It's no different than working out, eating healthy. We've done these things. We know what that experience feels like. There's no need to convince ourselves not to do it
Right.
by overthinking.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, and I do that because I'm still learning how to finish. That's a problem for me
right.
because I know how it's supposed to look,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll second guess myself sometimes, and that's why I take forever because I'm still learning how to do it. But
Yeah.
it's annoying because I see people around me just flying up these things, and I'm just like, well, does that look right? Like that's what's taking me so long. I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
visualize is this supposed to look like that, you know?
Yeah. And another issue that we kind of have that we haven't touched on yet is when we start something new, which is where a lot of this comes from, right? We agreed on that. A
New
lot of these
things.
thoughts are new things,
Yeah.
or they might not be new per se, but they're something we haven't done in the area we're already excel at.
Yeah.
Like concrete. We know concrete, we've never done these forms. Um So then we look at videos. We have this world of seeing so many other people being able to do these things, and then if we don't do it the way they're doing it,
Then you
then we
immediately think
then
something's wrong.
then you're gonna think something's wrong.
Yeah.
And that's for me personally where it starts. If I don't do this how somebody else has done this already, then I'm not doing it right.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? There's multiple ways to do
Every
everything.
literally everything.
Literally everything.
Because if there's not, then most people would just fail. If you had to, you know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think it's really important, go out, try these things yourself. Don't don't try and overthink things too much. Get out there, take the action to do it. Yes, do your research because
Yeah, don't
that's
limit, right? Don't just
no,
I'm
don't
gonna
just
do it.
go out there
Because you don't
and
want to avoid all the stress. It's impossible to do that.
right.
You want to be prepared.
It's that fine line of overthinking because what happens when you overthink something. Very simple explanation that I used earlier when you and I were talking was, if you think you're going to have a shit day, or you're compiling those thoughts and they're all negative, you're
Yeah.
probably going to have a shit day.
Yeah.
So if you start thinking of all the ways that something could go bad because you're not doing it right, it's probably going to go that way because you're in that mentality.
Yeah.
Just like if you think of 20 different ways to do something, you need to pick one because otherwise you're not going to do it right no matter which way you do it.
Right.
Because then you're going to go back and you're going to, well, I should have done it this way, or should have thought more about it this way. Well, no, just go out and do it. If you did it wrong, correct it the next time.
Yeah. That fits perfect into the dating example that I was thinking. I'm overthinking too far into the future.
Right.
Yes, looking good should be there,
Right.
and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
You're not going to go out and meet a girl and marry the first girl you talk to.
No,
So
but
who cares?
everybody's brain goes there.
Absolutely. And it might not be that. Another good real world example is like public speaking. And I'm not talking even like, 1,000 people. Like some people have an issue just talking to like
Dude,
10
I was
people.
in speech class in college. There was 15 people in there.
Right.
Nobody knows me, but guess what? You're sweating fucking bullets.
Yes.
You're sweating bullets,
Yes.
and it has nothing to do with the grade you're gonna get. It has to do with looking like a jackass.
Right. And so you start thinking about what those other people are thinking about you, right? And that's another key to overthinking things is, who cares what anybody else thinks about you? Like, as long as you're solid with yourself, then, and that's something I had to learn because like you, I like to do things for people, right? People pleaser to a point.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to bend over just so I can kiss your ass because I want to kiss your ass. But if I have something and it can help you, I'm down for helping you.
Yeah.
But sometimes, we take that overboard and we go, well, we just want everybody to be happy. Well, that's
Yeah.
not, you can't.
Yeah. No, I'm currently struggling with that.
Yeah. And again, it's a thought thing. Cancel off your thoughts, which I say that and it sounds like I'm saying, oh yeah, just shut your thoughts off. Trust me, I know how difficult that is.
Mm-hmm.
I am definitely somebody who is struggling with that per se. So if you're watching this and you have any advice, by all means share it,
Mm-hmm.
because I have my trial and error things that I do. I try and sit still. What works for me to negate off of a thought track that I'm on um, would be breathing, simply breathing. There are
Mm-hmm.
many times now where I just tell myself, okay, just do me a favor, take a deep breath real quick, hold it for about 3 seconds and let it out.
Yeah,
And
starting at square one.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy how that just allows you to let those thoughts just go
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of drift off. So, is there anything that you do when you get into that point that just kind of mellows you out?
No, I mean, for the most part, I just take it head on. But like living, just try it. It's so dumb because it's not really a hack or anything. It's just try to live in the moment.
Yeah, action. I stand firm behind
It's
that.
yeah,
Action's the
yeah,
best way.
yeah. So and I'm learning that stress is a good thing in
Yes,
some spots. Keeps you on your toes.
it does, but there definitely is a point of,
Yeah.
too much.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything in life's going to be sunshine and rainbows,
Yeah.
and you can't be naive enough to think that, but you also don't need to put yourself there all the time.
Right.
So,
And I don't like it's just the new things. Even at the start of this season, I was like worried like where did my concrete skills go? Did they
right.
disappear? Do I still have them? Like things
Mhm.
like that. But like I said, I mean, I'm taking stress into everything work related, but it's not overboard
Right.
because at the end of the day, we know it's going to look good because we know what the fuck we're doing.
Right. Well, and that's just a quick touch here. Another example would be an employee. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you, I'm sure you're my brother, but I'm sure there's times where you're doing something and you're probably thinking, is John going to think this is okay? Or are
Yeah.
we, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and we're related. Like,
Yeah. 100%.
if
Every time I'm setting up a
you
form.
you know I'm going to tell you if you're doing something wrong, whereas
Yeah.
somebody who is maybe new to a job or something like that, or new management comes in too, you might have that in the back of your head, like, how is it, am I doing this right? What are they going to say? And
Yeah.
then boom, instantly again you're back
Mm-hmm.
into your mind and you're fucking yourself over again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a lot easier because I know you're like you just said before. I know you're gonna tell me if I'm doing something wrong. You're
Right.
gonna come help me. You're gonna come,
Yeah.
show me what I did wrong, and then I can take it and move forward from there,
Yeah.
which is a good environment to work in.
Yeah, it is. We've had some fun so far,
Mm-hmm.
so we're going to keep it going. Well, that's all I got this week. You got anything else for these folks?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, we're gonna try to put those photos in there.
Yeah, I'm going to post those photos at the beginning so you can kind of see what we're doing, and then hopefully next week when we're done with the project, we'll post some final pictures
Yeah.
so you can see how it turned out. So, as always, please follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Reach out to us, drop us a comment in YouTube, or just directly message us and just start a conversation. We love hearing from everybody.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll catch you next week.